Hey guys, good morning. So glad you guys are here. Got a great lesson for you guys. Today's topic is don't stop living for God. But before we get into our lesson, here are the songs for today. I'll see you guys afterwards.
Through you the blind will see, through you the mute will sing, through you the dead will rise, through you our hearts will praise, through you the darkness flees, through you my heart screams I am free. my Father's house.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed those songs. Well, as I mentioned in the opening announcements, our topic today is don't stop living for God. We're going to talk about this because I want you guys to know something, that living as a Christian in this world is not always easy, and it won't be easy, but it's certainly not impossible to live for Jesus in this world. The Bible gives us many examples of those who went through some tough times simply because they believed in Jesus or because they were Christians. And those stories are written in the Bible for a certain reason. In Romans chapter 15, verse 4, listen to what it says. It says that everything that was written in the past was written to teach us so that we could have hope and we can be encouraged. God gave us that Bible, and all the stories are in there for us to read and to learn about these people and what they went through. So today, we're going to learn about somebody who was actually one of my heroes of the faith, and that's the Apostle Paul. You guys remember him. We learned a few weeks ago the story of Paul. In the very beginning, his name was Saul, and that was when he was actually going against Christians and against Jesus. But Paul was on the road one day, and he met Jesus, and Jesus changed his life. And ever since that day, Paul made a choice to live for Jesus, to make sure that he was glorified in everything that he did. And he also went out and preached the good news of the gospel because he loved people. And guys, you know what? It wasn't an easy life for him. He endured, and he went through a lot of tough times. Let's read about some of the things that he went through. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 to 33, listen to what the Apostle Paul says he went through. He says, I have been in prison a lot. Again, this is for believing in Jesus. He says, I have been hurt more in beatings. I have been near death many times. Plenty of times you almost died. He says, 5 times I was whipped. 3 different times I was beaten with rods. 1 time they tried to kill me with stones. 3 times I was in ships that were wrecked, and one of those times I spent the night and the next day at sea. I have gone on many travels, and I have been in danger from rivers, from thieves, even from my own people who called me friend. I have been in danger in cities, in places where no one lives, and on the sea. And I have done hard and tiring work, and many times I did not sleep. I have been hungry, and I have been thirsty. Many times I have been without food. I have been cold and without clothes. Besides all this, there is on me every day the load of my concern for all the churches. He started some churches, and he always kept thinking about them, having a concern for them. And he says in verse 29, I feel weak every time someone is weak, and I feel upset every time someone falls into sin. Paul went through some tough times, guys, hard times. But then just before his life ends, he tells us exactly how he felt and how he got through all those things. This last part in Philippians is when he is in prison and he's writing his final letter. Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 through 13. Listen to what he says. Again, this is just towards the end of his life, just before he dies. He goes, I have learned to be happy with the things that I have and with the things that happen. I know how to live when I am poor, and I know how to live when I have a lot. I have learned the secret of being happy any time, even during those beatings, even during those shipwrecks. He learned to be happy in everything that happens. He says, I have learned to be happy when I have enough to eat, and I've learned to be happy when I don't have enough to eat. I have learned to be happy when I have all the things that I need, and when I don't have all the things that I need. How can he be happy during all these times? Philippians 4:13. It's a very famous verse. Listen to this. He says, I can do all things through Christ because it is He who gives me the strength. Guys, what a testimony from Paul himself. All the things that he went through, he says, I can do all things. I've learned to be happy in all those things. And then he says, I can do all things through Christ because it is He that gives me the strength. Boys and girls, I want you guys to remember something. Whatever you go through because you believe in Jesus, God wants you to know today that He has given you enough strength to get through everything that you need to get through. We just need to trust in Him, submit to Him, stay close to Him. And guys, today's lesson once again is about, you know what? Don't stop living for our God. Whenever you have a chance, attend church as much as you can. Read your Bible. Spend time in prayer every day. And don't stop. Live for Him to the very end. And right now, Miss Kristen's got a story that she wants to share with you guys, and I'll see you guys after her story.
Hey boys and girls, I've got a great life story for you guys today. Remember, these life stories are not real stories, but they're stories to help you to understand the lesson that Pastor Rob teaches. So let's see what our story is about today. As you see here on the slide, this is Alvin. Now, Alvin lives in Kenya with a herd of elephants, and they live in a beautiful area. They live in an area that has a place called Livingstone Falls. Now, Livingstone Falls always provides abundance of water. And because of that, they have green grass, they have all kinds of plants, and they never are without any of that. They live happily and they live healthily there as well. Now, Alvin, he was fascinated with nature and he loved to read books, and one day he was hoping to go on an adventure of his own. So let's see what happens. Well, as Alvin was sitting there reading his books, all of a sudden he heard this noise, and it was Mari the messenger bird, and he was flying over to the chief elephant, and he had bad news. He told him there is a bad sickness that is affecting a village of another herd over in the Sahara Desert, and they need the leaves that we grow here for their medicine to make them well. They are in danger, and we have to do something right away. The chief elephant agreed, and he said, well, let's gather up the leaves and let's find somebody to go and take these leaves to that herd so they can live. And let's see what happens. Well, Alvin heard that. He was so excited. He was the first one to speak up. He said, I'll go. And so he ran over to the chief elephant, and he said, okay, if you go, he said, you have to keep going. You cannot stop. You have to continue your course. It's very important that you do not give up. Alvin said, I promise, I will not give up. I will finish the course and bring the medicine to the other herd. Boys and girls, that's like us. We can't give up. We can never stop living for God. Even when we don't know what's ahead of us, we can always live for Him. He will help us to do that. So let's see what happened. Well, Alvin got ready. His family packed him a bag, and in that bag, they made sure he had water, and he had leaves to eat, and some roots to munch on. He had fresh fruit and lots of water because the journey ahead was going to be long. Then they gave him the medicine, and they made sure he wore it around his neck because he had to keep it safe and get it there no matter what. So Alvin and Mari went out and started their journey. And let's see what happens. Now the journey was long, and it was hard, and it was dry. There was no water to be found, and it was hot. And poor Alvin was starting to get blisters on his feet from the long journey. So they decided to take a short break and rest. So they laid down, and sure enough, Alvin was out like a light very quickly. They wanted to get a little rest so they could finish their journey. But that rest did not last too long. Let's see what happens. All of a sudden, he heard this noise. It was growling. It was lions. Lions had come over to where they were resting, and they were trying to take his bag. You see, they wanted his water. They wanted his snacks, because where they were, there was no snacks. There was no water, and they were desperate. So they were going after Alvin and Mari to get the bag. Mari told him, just give him the bag. Give him the bag. We don't need it. Just keep the leaves safe so that we can get them to the tribe. And sure enough, he let them have the bag, and the lions ran off. Let's see what happens. Well, when the lions left, Alvin was hurt. He had scratches from the lions trying to reach for the bag, and they were pretty bad. They didn't know if they were going to be able to continue going on. Mari even suggested, hey, let's go back home and get somebody else to take the leaves. But Alvin knew that he had to get the leaves there and keep his promise. And boys and girls, we have to make sure in our life that we never quit, that we keep going, we keep serving God, keep living for God. We can't just give up when life gets hard. So Alvin grabbed everything that he had left and the leaves, and he said, let's go. We're going to continue this journey. And let's see what happens. As they continued the journey, it got harder and harder. Alvin's scratches were really hurting. His feet had blisters, and he was going through a really hard time. He even thought about giving up, but he looked down and he saw the pouch around his neck, and he knew that if he gave up, that whole tribe could die if they did not get these leaves, because they were very, very sick. So he kept his eye on the goal. And boys and girls, that's what we have to do. We have to keep our eyes on God. We have to keep our eyes on the goal and never give up living for him. Well, they were almost there, and they were so excited. And let's see what happens. Sure enough, it was another obstacle. Just when they thought they were so close, all of a sudden a big sandstorm came and started blowing and getting in their eyes and in their mouths. So they covered their face, they covered their eyes, and they kept pushing forward. Mari stuck to him so close because she was afraid she was going to get blown away. But eventually the wind calmed down and the sand stopped. And let's see what they saw. There it was the village. They were on top of the hill, and they could look down and they could see this village that they were desperately trying to reach. They were so excited. They couldn't wait anymore to bring those leaves. They had forgotten even about the wounds and the hurts and all the things they went through, because they had arrived. They had stayed faithful, and they didn't stop. And boys and girls, that's what we need to do for God. We need to stay faithful, keep our eyes on him, and never stop living for him. Pastor Rob, I think you have something else to share with us.
Thank you, Miss Kristen, for that story. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Well, guys, before we close, look at our sign once again. It says, don't stop living for God. And remember, guys, we're going to go through some tough times. Maybe not as at your age right now, but as you get older, if you stand up for Jesus and start talking about him and standing up for what's right, difficult times can come. But remember, guys, get through it. You can. God gives us the strength, and he gives us that power. He already proved it in the past, and he'll prove it to you even now. Love you guys, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.